Good afternoon and welcome to the Midday News. Here's what we have in the bulletin. In the clear, embattled NWC President Mark Barnett and his wife will not face prosecution for alleged environmental breaches. Residents raid chicken truck after collision near Spanish Town. And later in sports, Cavalier move up in Jamaica Premier League standings with win over Humble Lion. Thanks for joining us. I'm Giovanni Dennis and here are the details. We begin this afternoon with a developing story. NWC President Mark Barnett and his wife Annette Francis Barnett will not face criminal prosecution for alleged environmental permit breaches. A copy of the ruling from the Office of the Director of Public Prosecutions obtained by TVJ News indicated that, quote, though the allegations support the laying of criminal charges against Mr. Barnett and Mrs. Annette Francis Barnett for breaching the environmental permit, which was an offense under the Natural Resources Conservation Authority Act, the initiation of the prosecution is time sensitive, and it not having been initiated within 12 months of the breach being identified means the criminal action is now statute barred. An Integrity Commission report last year stated that the permits granted by the KSAMC and NEPA for the Gwen housing development were for the construction of 12 one-bedroom units, but the development instead consisted of 6 two-bedroom apartment units and 6 three-bedroom units, in clear violation of what was in the permit. Mr. Barnett was placed on administrative leave by the NWC board last October. Now we will have more on this developing story in primetime news at 7 this evening. Commuters experienced delays in the vicinity of Featherbed Lane in St. Catherine this morning after 2 trucks collided along Old Harbour Road. According to reports, the accident happened sometime around 3 o'clock.
When the brigade arrived, there was an accident involving a chicken truck from Jamaica Boilers and a trailer. The chicken truck was coming out of Featherbed Lane and the trailer was going in the direction of Spanish Town. The driver reported that he had almost cleared the road when the trailer slammed into him.
The driver of the trailer has been hospitalized. However, the condition of the other driver who was transporting the live chickens is unknown. Residents of the nearby community raided the chicken truck before it was removed from the scene. The fire department monitored the scene while it was processed, as the accident happened close to 2 gas stations.
In case anything happens to the trailer which is laden with gasoline, so we can put emergency plans in place.
TVJ News has been informed that another suspect has been taken into custody in relation to the fraud case in which individuals used the name of Government Minister Darrell Vaz to defraud people in a multi-million-dollar vehicle auction scam. The suspect was arrested yesterday during an operation conducted by the Counter-Terrorism and Organized Crime Investigation Branch. The racket began in 2021 when the men used Mr. Vaz's name and image to trick people into making payments for vehicles they said were being auctioned at Kingston Wharves. Mr. Vaz told our news centre that he has since received complaints from other people saying that they were contacted by the mastermind behind the scam. Now, Mr. Vaz,
I've gotten 5 phone calls from other persons who also have been approached by telephone contact impersonating me. I now consider this based on the arrest of an individual last year, where I thought that this matter was put to bed, to realize now that the mastermind is still at large. This is a very serious matter, which is going to require the attention of all of the authorities to get to the mastermind.
Mr. Vaz says he's prepared to assist the police in capturing those involved in the scam.
They have fleeced millions of dollars over the last 2 years using my good name, and this must stop. I am prepared to do anything and to call on all the authorities, local and international, to have this matter brought to a closure. This is an absolute disgrace where people are losing millions of dollars as a result of my good name.
35-year-old merchandiser Sean Latham of Knightsdale Drive, Kingston 19, was charged in 2021 with obtaining money by false pretense and fraudulent conversion. Mr. Latham reportedly told the individuals he was Mr. Vaz and was connected to the auctions. The individuals reportedly paid Mr. Latham more than $4 million for 2 vehicles. After the money was paid, the complainants became suspicious and reported the matter to the police. A sting operation was carried out on June 14 and Mr. Latham was arrested. He was being investigated by the fraud squad in connection with other cases. More politicians are urging the government to bring back the office of the political ombudsman. The latest call comes from Councillor for the Waterford Division in St. Catherine, Fenley Douglas. Mr. Douglas says the absence of the office in a pending local government election period is a slap in the face of democracy.
Not be operating without a political ombudsman. I believe personally that this is an ingredient for disaster. I believe personally that in this high political tide where, people will have disagreement, politicians will have disagreement, regular citizens will have disagreement. We need that mediator. We need that buffer to be there. Outside of that too, we need an ombudsman for the regular citizen.
Mr. Douglas pointed to several instances where the then political ombudsman de-escalated heightened tension in his division. The latest was in 2022.
Several murals were painted that did not represent what the people wanted in our community. Several were painted with a political undertone, green, right? And the residents got together and painted it out, and it became a big hurrah. And it was the ombudsman that brought clarity, that explained the law to the member of parliament, myself, and the mayor, and it was the ombudsman that quelled it.
The Ombudsman's office has been subsumed by the Electoral Commission of Jamaica. Justice Minister Delroy Chuck is expected to update the country on how the ECJ will carry out the functions. But even that process is being strongly criticized by politicians. As citizens continue to raise concern about the delivery of health service island-wide, the government says plans are in the pipeline to significantly boost its offerings. Citizens have been complaining about long wait times and overcrowding of health facilities. But with millions to be spent, the government says those issues will be a thing of the past. Health Minister Dr. Christopher Tufton, speaking following a tour of the Type 5 Health Centre in Montego Bay, St. James, said that facility will be expanded. The Health Minister says the old Montego Bay Ice Factory property, which is adjacent to the Type 5 Health Centre, will be acquired for the expansion. Dr. Tufton says when expanded, it will increase the number of people served at the facility. He says for last year, that figure was 67,000. Prime Minister Andrew Holness says the cries of the people have not gone unheard.
The government is cognizant of the issues we all face in health. We hear your cries daily, and we are moving as quickly as possible to improve our ability to serve you.
In the meantime, there will also be improvements in the health service delivery in St. Catherine, according to Prime Minister Andrew Holness.
I'm here to tell you that later on this month, we will be breaking ground for a massive upgrade, refurbishing and construction of new buildings at the Spanish Town Hospital where I was born. It will be a massive investment in healthcare. We're going to be building 2 new Type 5 health facilities, one in Portmore and one in Olab, and these will be modern facilities.
The Jamaica Hotel and Tourist Association, JHTA, has called for more focus to be placed on improving the road network to reduce travelling time and traffic congestion in the western side of the island. JHTA President Robin Russell says he has taken note of some patching work that has been completed in Hanover. However, he says more needs to be done.
I would love to see a more holistic traffic approach being done. I'm encouraged by the highway bypass from Obey that we're seeing work being done finally. But I think we need to look at how long persons travel on the road, traffic congestion and, synchronizing lights, etc., to make it a better experience.
Meanwhile, with concerns about the country's ability to adequately supply the tourism sectors with certain foods, this appeal.
It is what it is. What I would do is encourage more persons to get into farming, get into greenhouse farming and more, bigger, better farms that are more resilient than just traditional farms. Because the market is there. And as you said, with more tourists coming and more hotels and more villas, there will be need for more food. And I think it's a great opportunity for everyone.
And it's now time for a break here on the Midday News, but stay with us. More stories when we return. Welcome back. We're continuing the news. The Jamaica 60th Independence celebrations cost taxpayers over $400 million. The Grand Gala accounted for $129 million. During an interview this morning on TVJ Smile Jamaica, Dr. Sonia Stanley Naya, senior lecturer in cultural studies at the University of West Indies, reacted to the details.
My argument is that as a country with a global footprint as a cultural superpower, we have constantly underestimated the value of culture. Even though we are a global superpower where culture is concerned, we constantly do not invest in culture.
While the Culture Ministry has been successful in advancing the cultural development, it is still not doing enough.
My argument is we need to address underinvestment in culture across the country. The focus has always been Kingston or Montego Bay. And we need to get into Portland. We need to get into St. Elizabeth. We need to get into Manchester. Why are we only focused on big events like the Grand Gala? And yes, as a country like Jamaica, big celebrations are important. But I find that we spend a lot of energy doing a one-shot event, but not sustainably funding what would be important for preservation of culture.
Portmore's Mayor Leon Thomas says the municipal corporation will be moving swiftly to fix the breach in the perimeter fence used by criminals to escape after robbing 2 people on its compound Tuesday. During a council meeting Wednesday night, the mayor acknowledged the attack and said the corporation will be beefing up security. Gunmen reportedly trailed the duo to the corporation and stole $860,000 from them. They used the breached perimeter fencing to get away on bikes. No one was hurt. A private security company is contracted by the corporation. However, the officers were reportedly not close by when the attack was taking place. TVJ News understands that the ordeal was captured on the corporation's closed-circuit camera TV. Now, detectives from the St. Catherine South Police are investigating the incident. And it's now time for the Business Minute.
The World Bank says governments around the world need to spend more to address climate change and resilience. Its latest global economic outlook says about $2.4 trillion is needed annually to meet climate and other key global development goals by 2030. The World Bank says this investment is especially critical for developing countries. It says policies must also prioritize these investments. The study projects that per capita investment in developing economies between 2023 and 2024 will average only 3.7%, just over half the rate of the previous 2 decades. Further afield, the U.S. government has said airline regulators will not be rushed into clearing grounded Boeing 73 MAX 9 planes after a mid-air blowout. Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg said the aircraft, which were suspended in the U.S. following an incident on an Alaska Airlines flight, need to be 100% safe. It is unclear when the planes will be allowed to fly again. Boeing's boss, Dave Calhoun, described the incident as a quality escape. It means the incident was caused by some failure in quality control in the plane, which had been in service for just 8 weeks before the blowout. And that's it for the Business Minute. I'm Shane Masters.
Time now for the top regional and international stories.
In the region, voting is underway in St. Martin for its 2024 parliamentary election at 20 polling stations across the Dutch Caribbean island. The polls were opened at 8 a.m. and will close at 8 p.m. The total number of registered voters for this year is 22,553. Police officers from the other Dutch Caribbean islands of Aruba, Bonaire, and Curacao are present to assist with maintaining peace and security during the parliamentary elections. 8 political parties have offered up 129 candidates to vie for the 15 parliamentary seats. On the international scene, more than 200 pro-Palestinian protesters have gathered outside the International Court of Justice in The Hague, Netherlands, as Israel is being tried under the United Nations Genocide Convention over the conduct of its war in Gaza. The case was brought by South Africa. The submission also calls on the court to order Israel to stop military operations there. The ICJ will deliver only an opinion on the genocide allegation, as the case is not a criminal trial. And a state of emergency has been declared in Papua New Guinea's capital after at least 15 people were killed in rioting. According to Prime Minister James Marape, more than 1,000 troops are on standby to step in wherever necessary. The unrest follows wider tensions in the Pacific Island nation over rising costs and higher unemployment. And those were the top regional and international stories. I'm Carrie Simpson.
And we head to another quick break, but stay with us when we come back. Spencer Darlington will have your midday sports report.